We have got to make up our minds one way or the other to commit ourselves for Christ or not to. Those are the only two choices we have. Because when you look at the 3rd chapter of the book of Revelation, it talks about a curse that's upon our church age, and that's known as the Laodicean church age. The Laodicean Christians, for the most part, are just lukewarm at best. And those are fence walkers. A fence walker is just walking the mark, and he's not committing one way or the other. How can God bless a person who won't make up his mind one way or the other? This is what it comes down to. And didn't Hosea himself say that my people die for a lack of knowledge? Well, I think we're getting a fair amount of knowledge right now, but the question is, what are you going to do with it? This is what you have to ask yourselves. And as I said before, this is not a popular topic of discussion. Let's face it. How many of us have gone out, we've celebrated Christmas, we've gone Easter egg hunting, many of us. Halloween, harvest festivals, and trust me, I'm not done yet. But this is popular stuff. But since when did Christ tell us we're here for popularity points? We're not here for that reason. We're here for one and only one purpose, and that's to fulfill the Great Commission, to go out there, preach the gospel of salvation, and get these people saved. But how is that going to be possible if our own houses need to be cleaned up? We want God to shed his blessings from on high. We want God to use us. How can we honestly expect God to do that if we're doing the exact same thing the heathens are doing? In the occult world, nothing has changed, and this is more than 5,000 years old. And if my pastor Bruce Wilson was here right now, he would be looking at me and wondering what's getting into me. See, I have a deadly fear that one of these days God may call me into, the ministry to become a preacher. No. My gift is in teaching, and I'm just praying God never does that to me. Don't get me wrong. Preachers are some of the nicest people on God's earth. You should make a friend of them. But it just isn't my gift. It really isn't. But the truth is, really, how are we ever going to be used of God if we don't clean up our own houses first? There is just so much that we, and again, here I go, people, that we would love to blame other people for doing. Oh, do you see what that person has done? Oh, don't go near, my children can't play with that girl because her parents or her does this and that. I think we should start pointing the finger here first. Christ said, don't worry about the little sliver of the mote that is in their eyes. Worry about the 4x4 that is in yours right now. Then you'll be able to see spiritually to help them. Now, what could possibly be so harmful or occultic about St. Valentine's Day? It's a day set aside for lovers, isn't it? That's what it's known as. It's the holidays of lovers, correct? If you recall, remember how I told you, Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz, they were the first family of the occult. The occult beliefs did not change. All that happened when it went to the next culture, just the names changed. The beliefs remained the same. If you go back, you can actually trace all this stuff. Now, with Valentine's Day, notice how this is exactly 13 days after the human night sacrifice of Imbolg. This is nothing but a complete camouflage for an ancient fertility ritual. Now, how many of us have seen this cute little boy before? It's a little difficult to see, but this is Cupid throwing an arrow at his victim known as Psyche. See, Cupid, according to all the legends, he was not a bare-bottomed little cherub just shooting arrows. He was a troublemaker. He got in trouble with the gods themselves, you know. And he himself, as I said it, boy, did he get into a lot of trouble. But Cupid, if you check this very carefully, according to the legends, was the son of Venus. Originally, his name was Tammuz. Remember, he's the son of Semiramis. Venus, originally, is the daughter of Jupiter. Well, Semiramis was the wife of Nimrod. Now this here is the famous rendition that's known as the Venus de Milo. It was found in Milo, Italy. This is the fertility goddess. This is the big brouhaha, what St. Valentine's Day is also about. It is nothing but the reenactment, as I stated, of the ancient fertility rites, because continuing on, you find out Jupiter himself, according to all the myths, was the head god of the pantheon. He was the sun god. Nimrod of Babylon was declared to be the sun god. And if you notice, once it got into Egypt, what was Ra known as? The sun god. It didn't change. Only the names did. That's it. And during this festival of Valentine, there would be a lot of drunkenness going on. There would be sexual orgies going on. And the two most famous sacrifices that people would bring to the temple, to the goddess, were sweets such as candies and spring flowers. And isn't that what we're doing to this very day? How many of those candy stores are making a killing, let alone the floral shops? This is the exact recreation of that ancient fertility ritual. And mind you, back then they had a symbol that they used for this ceremony, and it was the human heart. The reason it was the heart was because the heart represented the seat of all emotions, including love. And to this very day, we will reenact this ancient occult ceremony, and we won't even think twice about it. Now, this one is one of my favorites. Groundhog's Day. What could be so occultic or harmful about a groundhog? Well, first of all, groundhog is celebrated on the night of what's known as Imbolg the occult. It's a night of human sacrifice. But did you know that the groundhog has great metaphysical powers? He can divine the future. You take this creature, you hold him up in the air, you look down. If his shadow is there, you're going to have a long winter. Well, if you're still holding him up there and you look down and there's no shadow, he's your friend now because you're going to have a short winter. This cute little fellow that they're constantly using every year that you see on TV, that's Punxsutawney Phil. Punxsutawney Phil has the ability to tell not only the future, but the weather better than the weatherman. Anyways, oh, by the way, how many of you had ever seen that movie, Groundhog's Day? You want to talk about reincarnation and what it's all about? Anyway, the groundhog itself is a perfect representation of the spring goddess. We're going to do a comparison in a minute. But over here, we see a young maiden, a mature woman, and an old lady. These three ladies represent the three stages of the Earth Mother's life. She comes in as a young maiden. May 1st, she matures into the Earth Mother, and around October, she goes into what's known as the Old Crone. This is what's known as the maid, the mother, and the crone. This represents the three facets of the Earth Mother. Now, When we take a look at the groundhog and compare it to the Earth Mother, you're going to find that there is no difference. You see, the Earth Goddess, when her time is over and the stag god comes in, she goes into the earth and sleeps until the spring. Isn't this what the groundhog does? He goes into the earth and he hibernates. The Earth Goddess is sleeping in between two specific periods of time, winter and spring. Isn't that exactly what the groundhog is doing? Work with me here. Nod, yes. Don't force me to get desperate. The goddess is known as an earth creature. This is why she is referred to as the Earth Mother. Isn't the groundhog also an earth creature? The Earth Goddess will only begin to reawaken during springtime. That's when she begins to come back into power. That's when she begins to come back as that young maiden. Isn't that when the groundhog also begins to come back? The goddess completes the cycle of the year, or what's also known as reincarnation. Isn't that what the groundhog is doing? And the Earth Goddess, every year, she represents rebirth and renewal. And this is exactly what the groundhog represents. Can you see, when you take them and compare them side by side, step by step, all the way through the belief system, that there is no difference? This is why groundhog became an American holiday, because it was an occult one first. And all that they did, as usual, was Americanize it and put it right in your calendar. Mind you, right on the human night sacrifice of what is known in the occult as in vogue. Now this next one, again, it seems harmless on the surface. How many people, of course, have ever heard of May Day? Of course. Now, May Day itself, on the surface, again, it looks harmless. A lot of people just think it's another time just to come together, share some old times with some old friends, do some dancing, some drinking, what may not. We look at the top of this particular transparency. What are those people doing? Right, they're dancing around the maypole. But what people, first of all, don't realize, you see, first of all, this is on May 1st, what's known as Beltane. Let me explain Beltane to you. B-E-L, or what's known as Baal. You will find the word Baal and Bel in the Bible, both of them, constantly throughout the Old Testament, where God told you not to have anything to do with Baal worship. Baal worship is the recreation in the occult now of certain fertility rituals. Remember, Baal, this is just, again, another countercultural name for Nimrod. He had many names as it spread throughout different cultures. Now, I'm going to, once again, I'm going to try to put this as tactfully as I can. But you've got to know the truth about this. That maypole is nothing but a phallic symbol. It's for this reason that the people on the ground are dancing around in that familial circle again. It represents the female reproductive organs. This is a mating fertility ritual. You will notice, now those streamers that are coming down are usually a good 6 feet in length. Most of the time it's red and white, though other people will do different colors, but that's okay. Because the men, they're dancing around in a clockwise fashion. That's known in the occult as widowshins. The women, they're dancing in the counterclockwise fashion, which is known as diosol. And if you notice, because of this, those ribbons are intertwining, correct, around the maypole. This shows the unification of the sexual organs and the act of procreation itself. That's all that May Day is. This is just a recreation of an ancient fertility ritual that still goes on in the occult today.